Hello and welcome back to Katawa Shoujo. Last time we went to give Hanako her homework and she said, "No, don't come in here, leave the homework and step away from the door." Also, Kenji talked to us for a really long time about fallout shelters. Goodness. Once again, Hanako doesn't turn up for class. Try as I might to concentrate on other matters, this fact continues to distract me throughout the entire school day, and even as I walk through the school gardens to the dormitories. I don't think today being her birthday is a coincidence either. I don't know the link between the two events though, nor do I have any idea on what she's feeling. Were it physical pain, I could at least provide some limited comfort with something like this, though I have no idea where to start. Just be there for her, and then she'll tell you if she needs something. If she knows. Just, you're doing pretty good on the social cues. You're like, oh, she's all nervous, maybe I should back up. And then she's not nervous, and then you don't back up. I run the people I know through my head, thinking about whether they could help. Shizune and Misha don't know that much about Hanako, and what little they do know they can't tell me. Same for the nurse. In the end, there's only one person that knows Hanako well and would be willing to tell me anything. Entering my dormitory room, I notice something that takes me off guard. It's starting to feel familiar. With everything that's going on around me, I'm thankful that this room started to finally be somewhere I can relax a little. When I first entered Yamaku, it felt immediately foreign in every way, from the untouched neatness to the way it smelled. Focusing back on my task at hand, I throw my bag onto the bed as I open the top drawer of my desk. Before she left, Lilly told me the number to call her on while in Scotland. I wrote it down. In hindsight, I wonder if she knew something like this could happen. Now that she's out of reach, I realize just how much both Hanako and I have relied on her for guidance. I dig around drawer after drawer looking for that damn piece of paper. Eventually, thankfully, I find it nestled under a borrowed library book. Got my Nokia out! Huh. Actually, Nokias aren't flip phones, usually they're like a brick. I guess they can be flip phones. There are Nokia flip phones, but that's not what I think of when I think of a Nokia. I probably should have just entered it directly into my cell phone. Come to think of it, without further ado, I enter the numbers and anxiously press the call button. Eventually the phone picks up a feminine voice I don't recognize on the other end. It's probably Lily's mother. Sato. English? Suddenly finding myself unprepared, I realize I can't understand a word she says either, due to my limited vocabulary or her heavy accent. I should have anticipated this, since, according to Lilly, her mother is a native Scot. I soldier on the hopes that she must know some Japanese, considering it's her daughter's native language. It's Hisao Nakai speaking. An enthusiastic sound of realization can be heard as she recognizes the language. My feeling of relief is immense. Ah, you must be one of Lily's friends from school, correct? Even so, her accent means I have to concentrate to work out what she's saying. That's right. Pleased to speak to you, Miss Sato. It's so nice of her to find someone so polite. Lily dear, it's for you. Her mother seems nice, if a little over-enthusiastic given the mundane situation. There's a small silence as Lily takes her time getting to the phone. In the distance, I can just make out her mother scolding her playfully for just getting up. Hello, Lily speaking. You sound awful. Oh, I didn't make her sound awful. Oops. She makes a sound somewhere between a dying animal and a yawn. The one thing I did remember to check before calling was time zone. It'd be pretty late in the morning over there, so she really has no excuse. Not feeling well? Just tired. What time is it there? Late afternoon. School finished for the day not long ago. Hanako's not well, is she? That was quick. My assumption that she must have known something like this could happen seems to have been on the mark. How'd you know? Because today's her birthday. I'd hoped she might have gotten at least a little better after coming to know you, but How is she right now? She missed school today and yesterday. I still have to check up on her today, to be honest. After seeing how she was when I talked to her yesterday, I'm pretty anxious. I really have no idea what to make of it. Has this happened in the past? Is it related to her scarring in some way? Unfortunately so. Roughly the same things happened last year when her birthday came up. As far as I can tell, it's because her parents died in the accident that caused her scarring, and Hanako blames herself for their deaths. What she says does seem to make sense. If she's blaming herself on her birthday, she may well be rueing that she was ever born. Hanako had mentioned her stay in the orphanage to me. Maybe I should take some heart that she trusts me enough to tell me such a thing. Lily seeming so in the dark about it, though, almost to the extent that I am, is a surprise. So that's why she lives in the student dormitories as well? Has she told you any more about the accident? As close as we've come, she's very barely told me anything about what happened. What I know about it is largely conjecture. She sounds depressed, almost defeated. Considering the trauma Hanako must have gone through, I really can't fault Lily for not knowing. Nevertheless, she still seems to consider it a personal failing. Don't blame yourself, Lily. With everything she's gone through. There's a long silence from the other end of the line. I begin to wonder if the call cut out before the voice at the other end speaks once more. There is another person, though, that has been subject of worry for me as of late. Oh? I run through the people she could be talking about in my head. The only friends she seems to keep very close are Hanako and me, though there is Akira as well. That person is you, Hisao. There's another silence on the line, but this time it's caused by me. Making others worry about me is something I've very actively tried to avoid since coming to Yamaku. Indeed, even my interaction with Hanako has helped stave off any major health problems thanks to our relaxed and slow-paced lives. What is there to worry about over me? I apologize. I didn't mean any offense. Sorry, I was just taken a bit off guard. Still, isn't Hanako a bigger problem at the moment? For some time now, I've thought that the both of you may be feeding into each other's more worrying habits. I tried to amend this before leaving, but it seems to have done little. Worrying habits. When I asked you about what you had in mind for the future, your answer was very similar to what Hanako has said in the past when the questions was posed to her. It is well and good to want to protect her, but I fear that treating Hanako like this, as if she were a daughter or someone in need of special care, is only going to achieve the opposite. The situation got effectively turned on its head. After everything that's happened, this is the first time I find myself doubting Lily's judgment. Oh my. So, I think I'm not going to agree with Lily, just because if Lily's judgment was correct, and she thinks that, like, her method would be improving Hanako a lot, then Hanako, assumedly, would be somewhat better, right? Like, because she still is always really absent to class, it seems, even when she was friends with Lily, and she seems to be super codependent of Lily. So if that method really worked, wouldn't she have grown some sort of independence? Well, I know that this is going to change the ending. And she has, from what I know, she's gotten a little bit better since she's known me. I mean, with anxiety, it's always, there's some growth and some backtracking, that's normal. I'm not gonna agree with her. I feel like this is the wrong answer, but I'm not gonna agree. I listen carefully to what Lilly has to say, but I can't bring myself to agree with her. I want to be with Hanako more. I want to be a better friend to her, to support her when she needs support, and to be there when she most needs people. I think that now is one of those times. The memory of the store owner we met in town together still puts me off. Anyone who takes even the slightest glance at Hanako ends up staring, and to fault them for it would be completely hypocritical given my own reaction. I don't like my own scarring either, but at least I can cover it up with something as simple as a shirt. I can't imagine a life where every day would be spent trying to hide myself as much as possible. And on top of that, Hanako doesn't even have people around her that would support her no matter what she looks like. I live away from my parents, but I can still contact and visit them when I wish. I mull over the best course of action in my head and find myself trying to verbally agree with Lilly as softly and ambivalently as I can. We make some small talk afterwards, but both of us don't really have much stomach for it in the light of recent events. We say our goodbyes before I hang up. There is at least one thing I can do for Hanako. If I make this small gesture for her, I can only hope that she allows me to come that little bit closer. After talking to Lilly at the end of the school day, I sat at my desk and looked out the window, idly watching students leaving the school building. Usually they left in groups, but even when they left alone, they'd say goodbye to their friends first. It's completely normal, something that I would have missed completely had it been any other day because it's so mundane. But it's also something Hanako has never had in the time I've known her. As I stand outside of Hanako's door for a second time in as many days, that fact doesn't leave my mind. I hold 2 plates in my hands. On each is not exactly the most hearty of meals, but I want to be sure that Hanako is at least feeding herself. It may also be a way to gain a little leverage in getting her to let me in. That's manipulative. Bad, Hisao, bad. Lilly and I have tried our best to be there for her. Ever since she broke down in class, I've dearly wanted to protect Hanako. Such a thing happening to her again, or even something worse, is something I don't want to think about. The door gives a solid series of thuds as I knock on it while carefully propping up one plate on the other arm. I doubt Hanako will open it for me, so all I can really hope to accomplish is to attract her attention. Evening, Hanako, it's just me. I pause for a moment to see if she will respond, but the fact that she doesn't isn't very surprising. I have some food for both of us. Could I come in? For what feels like a very long time, some muffled voices from the floor below are the only sound to be heard. Then I can hear the sound of bare feet on the floor coming to the door, and I have to stifle a sigh of relief as I hear the door lock being worked. When Hanako opens the door, I look at her intently. She looks up momentarily to the plate in my left hand. It's a modest curry dish I quickly made from a packet. Her eyes move to the plate in my right hand, which holds the same thing, before looking down again. As she shuffles back into her room, I realize that I haven't said a word to her. I glumly follow her in, slightly embarrassed by having been so wrapped up in observing her. More than ever, the gray, stark atmosphere of Hanako's room feels like a reflection of her personality. The voices from outside become completely inaudible, and the silence outside oppressive once I close the door. Walking to the far end of the room, I place the 2 plates on her desk. I'm thankful that she let me in, but as I turn to face her, I can't help having second thoughts about coming to see her. I don't believe Lilly was right, though. Looking at Hanako like this, I can only think that giving her space is the last thing we should be doing. I don't want to imagine it, but she may do something very foolish. It's just an instant meal, but it should be filling. I take a plate in my hand, offering it to her. She wordlessly takes it and sits at the side of her bed. I take a seat in her chair, and the familiar sound of eating rings in the room as we dig with the forks that were stuck into the rice. The curry itself tastes okay. I wouldn't expect much from a packet whose brand I didn't recognize, so it not being horrible is at least something. Eating takes the edge off the fact that she isn't talking. Neither of us really likes to talk while we're eating, and this reminds me of the lunch times we so often spent together. It's kind of nice eating together like this. Hanako looks at me quizzically. It's at least a better expression than what she's been wearing thus far. We became friends mainly over sharing lunch breaks, so it's nice to go back to those times a bit. She hesitates a couple of seconds, and I find myself grimacing. Did I say something wrong? Eventually she smiles and nods. I would normally be very encouraged by this, but her smile looks strange. I can't quite put my finger on why. Everything's the same as before, isn't it? Yeah, of course it is. You've still got Lilly and me to help you and protect you, and once she gets back, everything will be just like she never left. Hanako nods again, her expression remaining exactly the same as before. She feels like a different Hanako from the one I'd first seen when I entered her room, and it's vaguely off-putting. Both of us go back to finishing off our dinners after the short exchange. Despite Hanako looking happier than before, my eyes keep flicking to her as if to reassure myself of that fact. Before long, the last of Hanako's curry is cleared. I finish the last of mine as she puts the empty plate on the desk and place my own empty plate and used fork on top of hers. I briefly wonder what I should say, desperately wanting to avoid another awkward silence for the prospect of leaving her room after so short a time. But Hanako is the one to speak up first. I was wondering, since you're here... She quickly goes to one of her drawers, after a minimum of fussing around, pulls out her chessboard. Would you like to play? This time I can't stifle the sigh of relief that escapes my lips. I hastily agree, and Hanako promptly busies herself setting up while I get off the chair and take a seat on her bed. Once again, Hanako is willing to let me into her world, in so simple a gesture as a game shared between us. I guess I was winding myself up for no reason. After the board is laid down on the bed between us, we finish placing our respective pieces on it. Throughout our friendship, we've never exchanged that many words. When we're like this, though, I see that perhaps we never really needed to. Just a simple book or board or meal between us is enough to bridge that distance. I make the first move, just as I've always done. This is the way our friendship was, and this is the way it will probably always be. Something definitely feels different about her, though, and I can't quite grasp what it is. I look at Hanako intently, but I can't work out anything from her expression. As physically close as we may be, it feels like we're further apart than ever. Hanako is a fragile person, though, and I would never want to hurt her. That was also the way things always were, and the way things between us will probably always be. Oh, frick! Ah! No! I can't believe I done this. I guess I should have agreed with Lilly. Those things take time. Oh no, not the neutral end again. Why am I so bad? At least I didn't get the bad ending. At least we're friends. I like when we're friends, so it's okay. Friendship can be more helpful than romantic-ship. I'm very annoyed though. I got the frickin' neutral ending again. Gah. Gah. I can't believe I done this. Okay. So, I'll get a little bit of my thoughts on Hanako's route. It's pretty straightforward. There's not really a whole lot to talk about. And maybe that'll change in the good ending, but really, she just has like extreme PTSD. And it's manifesting itself in very predictable kind of ways. I guess my mistake is that there's a little bit of a balance of comforting versus enabling, and I guess Lilly was right, but Lilly, it didn't seem like Lily's efforts were helping that much. Well, maybe they were. I really didn't know her before Lilly, so I can't really say. But maybe if both of her support systems do more than just coddle her and actually push her out in the world, which is what I did. I recommended that we go to the city because her initial coping mechanism seems to be to recluse, and a little bit of discomfort is okay as long as somebody is there to, make sure that she does have a safe space out in the scary world. But I guess I shouldn't have trusted Hisao's methods. Hisao's an idiot. I can't just trust him to do things the right way. No trusting Hisao anymore. He's banned from trust. Okay. Well, I will leave that off here. And I'll see everyone in the next video. Bye!